Used to own a restaurant in Naples called Handsome Harry's. Are you in Naples right now, Dave Wannstedt?
I am, and let me comment on your last statement there. I feel the same way. I'm a 5-inning in a Cubs game. That's about where I'm at, and then I got to move. I would watch 9 innings right now, and I'm done with Netflix. I'm turned to bourbon now. I'm drinking bourbon. Okay, I'm burnt out on the vodka, my red wine. We're done with that. So a buddy of mine brought me a bottle of bourbon. So I sit there and have a bourbon and a cigar and watch The Last Dance. That's where my mind is right now.
Yeah, Dave is talking about a conversation we had off air with Joey, and he could hear it, that I said, if the NBA doesn't go and baseball comes back, I will watch the Yankees, I'll watch the Dodgers, I will watch every single baseball game I can get my hands on. Dave Wannstedt joining us. So when you coached at Miami, and knowing the heat and humidity, did you think the schedule mattered, giving you an advantage or disadvantage?
Yeah, not as much for us because we had a practice in it, but I do think, and I know that it was a factor for opponents. If you were playing New England, up there late in December, that could be a disadvantage for us, an advantage for them. So the weather was a little bit of a factor with us. We used to talk about it all the time. I mean, and Joy could talk to Jason, when it was hot and we were practicing. We would practice at game times. I mean, we would go out there in the morning and have an 8 o'clock practice, and then we would come back around 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right in the heat of it, and we would go out there and put the pads on and get after it. Just to kind of say, hey, and the players bought into it. Hey, this is game mentality, and it's going to be hot. So I think logically that it definitely played a big part. I don't know how much on the opponent's side, but definitely it helped us.
I also think if you have a rookie quarterback who's going to play like the Bengals, I looked at Cincinnati's schedule, Coach. Holy moly. Cincinnati played all these pass rushes in the first couple of months. Did you ever look at your personnel and think, you know what? I think you're hitting on something that's worth talking about because I've done 2 or 3 of these primarily Bear shows there in the last week or two. And I really feel this, the teams that have new coaches, rookie head coaches and rookie quarterbacks, they've always been a little bit behind because of transition. But now, doing all this stuff through Zoom and virtual, you cannot get in there right now and work on the timing. I mean, if you got a defense is one thing, you can line up and turn them loose. But offensively, I think that's the position that's going to suffer a little bit, and primarily the timing of the quarterbacks and the receivers and the running backs and the audibles and the checks. You can't do that. You can talk about it. Sounds good. At a clinic, but the reality is you have to be on the field doing it and be coached. So now, and then I heard Matt Roll the other day. I was talking to one of his assistant coaches, and he said the most difficult thing that Matt's having right now is you try to get in there and you try to set your own foundation or your own culture, whatever you want to call it, as a new head coach for the program, and now you're doing it Zoom. Think about it. So I think it's a real advantage. If I was a veteran team right now and I've got everybody back and my staff back and my quarterback, boy, I'm feeling really good about starting this season. By the way, the Baltimore Ravens, not like they needed any help, but they don't have a West Coast game. Last year, the Jets got really lucky. They didn't have much West Coast stuff. Do you think, meanwhile, Seattle always has to go East Coast? Those are 3,000-mile trips. Does the length... Can that hurt you at all if you've got several trips as a Miami coach all the way west?
You know what? If you're going from the west, like you talked about Seattle going to the East Coast, I've never really experienced that. But being from Miami, it takes us an hour to fly out of the state of Florida, as you know, Colin.
Yeah.
So, when we played the Raiders and when we played Seattle, we just we never left early. We would go our normal day. We would fly out Saturday. We would get up. We'd be up early on Sunday, and we would go play the game. And we had a lot of success. We never thought that was a factor. So, I don't think it's as big a deal. We never made an adjustment going out 2 days early. A lot of teams do, and they believe in it. But going back to our Dallas Cowboy days, and then I never did it at the Bears, and we never did it at the Dolphins. So going east to west, we never did anything. I can't speak for the other way.
NFL, no OTAs, potentially shortened training camps. How difficult would that be to deal with as a head coach?
Well, as I said earlier, defensively, it's not a problem. I mean, you can put your defense in, and guys can go out and run around garbage cans and get to the right spot, and you're going to be okay. But, boy, the receiver stuff, the offensive line, trying to get those guys to work as a unit, and the communication between them and the quarterback, it's going to be difficult. I'm not sure really if I'm a head coach, I think I would rather have 2 weeks, an extra week or two of training camp practice and eliminate a game or two. Because sometimes you get into a game and, boy, guys can lose confidence in a hurry. You go in there with Joe Burrow and your line's not ready, or the receivers don't know what to do, and he looks terrible. So I think if depending when they give the go sign in the NFL, if something was going to give, I'd give up a preseason game or two just to have a week or two of practice to really get a good base and a good foundation established.
By the way, you still very prominent in Chicago, do a lot of radio shows there. Ryan Pace did something most GMs don't like to do. He admitted Mitch Trubisky doesn't work, and they went and got Nick Foles. Are you surprised that a GM pretty early in his quarterback's career is signaling, I whiffed?
Well, I'm going to go back to our shows last year, our kickoff show, Colin. I'm still believing in Mitch. I believe that Mitch Trubisky wins the job. I think that Mitch Trubisky is the starting quarterback at the Bears. It's going to be tough on Nick to come back. But look at Nick Foles. And I love Nick as much as a person as I do as a quarterback. But the guy's performance has been average the last 4 years. So now you're going to come into a new system. I just think that Mitch Trubisky is going to be the guy, and I think that this is good. I think they put a sense of urgency in him. We're not going to guarantee the $25 million. You want it, you're going to have to earn it, and I think that he'll accept the challenge. I know I'm in a minority in Chicago. I do, like you said, radio, and I do 2 TV shows, and I just think if you use Mitch Trubisky right and run the ball with that defense, you can. I can get in the playoffs tomorrow. I really believe that. And keep in mind, I love what Ryan Pace did in the offseason. For any Bear people who are out there watching, I talk about this all the time, having a window to win. Well, everything that they did in the offseason is to win now. When you sign Jimmy Graham and you sign Robert Quinn, a deep pass rusher, and you sign Nick Foles, and you sign Danny Trevathan back at linebacker, these are all guys that are playing for one reason, to get a ring. And I love that mentality with that football team.
Dave Wannstedt, Fox Sports, NFL guy, college football guy, too. So I didn't get to talk to you about this. It's one thing for the Packers to draft a quarterback. But if they had drafted a wide receiver with their second pick, I think you could make the argument to Aaron is, listen, we're drafting a kid that we think has your talent in 4 years. But when they went quarterback, running back, never went and got a receiver, it looks like Green Bay's trying to make a statement. And I get Aaron Rodgers being potentially pissed. What did you make of Love being picked and no receiver in a deep receiver draft not being selected?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, and I don't know much about Love. Obviously, he's a great talent. I'm not questioning that. But my first thought was they better be careful that they don't end up being Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. Because all last year we talked about that the Patriots had, they had the second most drops of any receiving group, and they were making mistakes, and they were a young group, and Tom didn't have the supporting cast. And obviously Aaron's younger, and he's still got more arm strength and things like that Tom did. But still, you better be darn careful that, your best player, I think you got to give him as much help as possible. I was disappointed. I truly was. I thought the Packers should have stepped up and really tried to help Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little college football. Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh, I think you and I both like him more than the average person. He wrote this, open letter to college football wrote it to the college football community, and he talked about, you know what, we should let players go when they want to go to the NFL. And the cynical part of me thinks, yeah, of course he does, because they'll all be SEC players. So when he wrote this idea that players should be able to, make themselves draft eligible, and if they don't get picked, they can come back, and they should all be eligible the minute after their freshman year. What was your takeaway on that by Jim?
Yeah, I like half of it. I always agreed because I had players at Pitt. When I had Darrelle Revis and LaShawn McCoy, Dion Lewis, some of these players I knew were going to be first or second round draft picks, I would tell them, go, get out of here right now. But if a guy was going to be, and I had players that were 6, one kid never got drafted, and his agent had him convinced he was going to be a 4th rounder. It would have done him a lot of good to have the opportunity to come back to Pitt for another year. So I don't like the idea of leaving after your freshman year. But I do really like the idea, that if a kid wants to change his mind, that he has that option to do it. Or if he gets drafted in a certain round, that maybe, you don't want to waste a first-round pick on him, obviously, and then the kid decides to stay in school. But after a certain round that wouldn't be costly to your program, to your club, I like that idea of a guy going back in the draft.
Yeah. So what have you been doing the last couple months?
Well, you know what? I don't want to sound disrespectful to anybody, but Florida has been really progressive. I had my knee replaced a week after the Super Bowl, so that gave me something to do for the next week. At least I had rehab 3 days a week that I went to. And now I am, the Florida here, the beaches are open, the restaurants are open. I'm playing golf once a week, sometimes twice. I'm biking, I'm swimming, so I'm pretty much back to normal in the city. Naples has been good. Down here, the people have been very, very aware and following all the social distance guidelines. And I think so far, so good. So I have complaints.
Yeah. Love talking to you, Coach. Thanks for stopping by. I love you, and Naples, Florida is one of my favorite places. Good talking. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.